If you go on Amazon right now, you would find over 33 million books available for purchase. You can find a book of any genre, for any age, on any subject in a matter of seconds. Everything from the newest big young adult novel to the classic epics of ancient Greece. Unless, of course, if the epic you're looking for is Homer's Margites. You've probably never heard of it. Homer is famous for Odyssey and Iliad, but his third epic isn't as talked about. And the reason for that is simply because there is quite literally nothing to talk about. There's evidence to support that it was at one time extremely popular in ancient Greece, yet today we know very little about Homer's lost poem. We know it was a comedy, possibly one of the very first popular comedies ever, and, in fact, it was most likely his first ever poem, if we're assuming that Homer was one person, but the Homeric question is a topic for another day. We even have a grand total of 4 lines that we can attribute to the epic that provide evidence for the fact the main character was a bumbling idiot. Or maybe the people we know quoted the poem were just paraphrasing, or were just flat out wrong about the line they're seemingly quoting. We really are just taking a handful of people's words that what they're saying really are lines from the poem. Though, as time goes on, it seems more and more likely that Margites will only ever be these few lines, and any other assumptions we can make from them. Homer's first epic could have been extremely influential for comedies, just like how his other poems are influential in their own genre to this day. Margites is only one sad story in the realm of lost literature. There's also everyone's favorite English class teaching assistant, William Shakespeare, and his lost play, The History of Cardenio. We don't really know any more about this work than we do about Margites. It was performed in 1613 by a London theatre company, The King's Men, and is most likely based off of the character Cardenio from Don Quixote. The actual content within the original play is relatively unknown, but 2 different plays claim to be related to the original work. Double Falsehood by Louis Theobald and The Second Maiden's Tragedy. There are controversies surrounding both of these claims, however. Theobald claimed to have 3 Shakespeare plays that he edited and changed, one of which being The Lost Cardenio. Yet, as he admitted himself, Theobald did tamper with the play, if he even had a copy of it in the first place. And Charles Hamilton, a handwriting expert, one day just claimed that The Second Maiden's Tragedy was the lost play with different characters. He hasn't received much support for this claim, but that hasn't stopped people from using the name Cardenio when performing the play. To me, the history of Cardenio had an even sadder fate than Margites. Homer's work is at least just lost to time, but Shakespeare's has seemingly been bastardized with no trace of his original work remaining. There are hundreds of similar stories about lost works of literature. A briefcase of the complete works of Ernest Hemingway was famously stolen from his wife in 1922, which included an unfinished World War I novel that never saw the light of day. George Orwell might have destroyed one of his own works, Socialism and War, due to no longer agreeing with the message. Yet another Shakespeare play, Love's Labour's Won, is also lost. This one has left next to no trace whatsoever, though is theorized to be a sequel to Love's Labour's Lost. I could go on for a very long time, but I am trying to keep this video short. All of these stories and whatever impact they could have left on the literary world are forever unknown, unless, by some miracle, we happen to find them, which, while extremely unlikely, isn't impossible. 120 Days of Sodom is a novel written by I'm not even going to try, it's this long-ass name, in 1785. For over 100 years, it was believed to be lost and destroyed during the raiding of the Bastille by revolutionaries. The author mourned the loss of the novel for the rest of his life, fully convinced there was no way it survived. However, he was wrong. Someone decided to preserve the text, and it was recovered in the early 20th century, and is now widely available. Now, let me be clear, 120 Days of Sodom is a somewhat controversial story. However, I don't think any piece of literature, or any art for that matter, deserves the grisly fate of being lost forever. Any copy of lost literature could be a masterpiece worthy of academic praise and analysis just as easily as it could be a terrible piece of work worthy of harsh criticism. But we will never know. So, any author or poet or anyone that just likes writing that has made it this far, I ask that you please just keep track of your work if you can. Who knows what the future will hold, and who knows who will write the next Margites.